Minister, you said earlier that PGI status won't be the silver bullet. It will in fact be the final nail in the coffin if the current approaches continue to be taken to maximise the number of beef farmers eligible for PGI status. And it contradicts a motion that I put down here in the House and you supported this time last year, that PGI status should be for certified, grass-fed, extensively reared Irish suckler beef. Will you implement that motion that you yourself approved?
Thank you very much, Deputy.
Thank you, and thanks for your question on this, Deputy Naughten. And many of the issues raised by yourself, as indeed by myself and other deputies at that time, have fallen since then under the remit of the Beef Task Force. And it was established in September 2019 and provides a very constructive forum for detailed engagement on key issues affecting the beef sector. It's particularly important progressing the commitments made by all stakeholders in the beef sector agreement last September. It's independently chaired, as you know, and includes representatives from a range of stakeholders, including farm organisations, the meat industry and my department and its agencies. The task force offers a suitable platform for strategic engagement by stakeholders on the opportunities and challenges facing the sector. I'm pleased to say that the task force will meet again before the end of September. Information relating to the work of the task force, including the full text of the agreement of 15 September and updates and actions arising out of that agreement to date, are available on my department's website. On market transparency, Grant Thornton have been contracted as consultants to conduct a series of transparency studies on behalf of the department as follows: an independent review of market and customer requirements, specifically in relation to the 4 inspect bonus criteria currently in operation in the Irish beef sector; an independent examination of the price composition of the total value of the animal, including the 5th quarter; and a summary of competition law issues as relevant to the Irish beef sector. An update on progress on these reports, Deputy, will be provided at the task force meeting at the end of this month. In relation to the draft application for PGI status for Irish beef, this issue was discussed in detail at the last task force meeting in June, and consultation and development on the draft PGI before BIA began in early 2019. As part of the procedure for developing the application, a national opposition procedure was launched whereby groups or individuals could submit their suggestions and observations on the proposal over a period of 4 weeks, and this concluded on Friday past, and submissions are now being examined now by officials. There will be further opportunity for discussion with stakeholders following this, including in the upcoming beef market task force.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy, 1 minute.
Minister, the difficulty is that the agenda here is to shoehorn as much beef as possible into the PGI status. And as you know, the former Commissioner, Commissioner Hogan, said that we should be seeking designation specifically for suckler beef. Now, when I raised this with your predecessor, Minister Creed, here in the House last October, he said the concept of suckler beef does not have a high degree of resonance. However, across a range of food products, including, of course, dairy, there's resonance in relation to grass-fed production. Now, you're saying here today that you will take into account the market research of Board BIA. Board BIA have let down the suckler industry in this country. They have not promoted Irish suckler beef, and they will continue to undermine it and put the money back into the hands of the processing industry unless you stand and defend them and put a PGI programme in place specifically for the suckler industry.
Thank you, Deputy. Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Naughten. Obviously, listen, I mean, market research is very important in terms of trying to assess what consumers that we sell to are looking for and what resonates with them. And we have to take that into account. And I know Board BIA have done significant research in that regard. But it is really important that whatever PGI status, a PGI status can have the support of all stakeholders. And actually everybody that can get behind it. That means farmers, that means industry, and that means our marketing agencies as well, because we have to come in behind it and ensure that it is supported in terms of advertising so that actually it can be a success. So my objective is working with all stakeholders now to try and ensure that we take forward the work that has already commenced, and we try and ensure that we get agreement in terms of a PGI status that can add to the value of Irish beef and can help us all market it abroad.
Very much,
Well, Minister, I think you have got it from the stakeholders here in this House that everyone on this side of the House is vehemently opposed to the approach that's been taken, which from its inception was about maximising the amount of beef that could be shoehorned into a PGI application, which the Commissioner at the time said would be unsuccessful, and unless we focus on suckler beef, that will not happen. And the difficulty is that Board B itself has never distinctly promoted suckler beef, because that does not suit the processing industry in this country, who want to take processing or manufacturing beef and try and get a premium price for it. Finally, Minister, can I ask you if you're sincere, and I believe you are, in relation to trying to break up the blockage that's there within the beef sector? Will you ask the Taoiseach, a Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment, under Section 10, subsection 4 of the Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2014, to request the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission to carry out a market study of the beef industry in this country? It doesn't require any evidence. It can be done at a stroke of a pen, and we'll see how transparent the industry is at that stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Deputy, you wanted to come in briefly.
Going back to the point I made earlier on, and in full support of Denis Naughten's remarks there, see, it's almost like a very funny stage that we're at here now, because Board B tell us that the reason that they can't apply for a distinct PGI for suckler beef, the best beef in the world, Irish suckler beef, as I mentioned earlier on, is because Irish naturally bred suckler beef isn't widely recognised in the market. So the question is, whose job was it to make sure that it was widely recognised in the market? Who's our promotion body? Only the one and the same Board B, who are actually being charged with seeking and securing the PGI status. So you can see where there's a problem. I want all of our farmers who produce beef to get a good price for their product. But there's a premium product that comes from many farms, and the majority of farms, or the largest number of our farms across this state, and they are suckler farmers, and they're not getting a premium. In fact, they're the ones who are operating at a loss, and we need to correct that.
I know more than anyone else know the tremendous product that suckler beef is, coming from Inishowen and Donegal, and having seen it right throughout the country as well. And I think our objective has to be to ensure that quality beef does get the best price possible and is marketed well abroad. And it's important, and I know that it's something I've raised with Board B in the past, and I know it's something that they very much recognise as well. I think in terms of assessing the markets and assessing where consumers are at, it's important that that's taken into account as well, Deputy, in terms of how, and Deputy Naughten, Deputy Carty, in terms of how we feeding that into how we frame the PGI status, and taking all evidence on board. And then taking in particular as well, importantly, the farmer representative views on board, and ensuring as well then that industry gets behind that, and that we as and the government gets behind it in terms of actually ensuring that it's marketed and promoted. So there is more work to be done over the next period of time, in advance of the Beef Task Force meeting, and in particular as well at that Beef Task Force. And certainly my objective is to try and get everybody working in partnership to promote Irish beef abroad, and to try and get agreement around the PGI status.